We had a comment on our How to Sing and Strum video asking about a rhythm guitar tutorial. And I also ran a poll to ask you guys what you'd like to see next, and you voted for how to play rhythm guitar with yourself or others. So let's talk about strum rhythms while singing and how to strum cover songs to keep them interesting. But first, if you have watched any of my videos, I hope that you have come away feeling like, yes, you can learn to sing with guitar, and you can play in public and make music that makes people happy. And you should, but it takes a lot of heart not to give up. I want to take a minute and applaud you for not giving up. Making music actually doesn't require special talent. Not giving up, that's the special part. So keep it up. You are getting there. I believe that everyone is created with something special in them, something built in. I don't think anyone can make the music that you will make if you don't give up. But you've got to pay your dues if you want to sing the blues, right? So let's get to it. Generally, we want to be building a collection of strum techniques while singing. We don't want to be making every song sound the same. We want to be able to competently recreate the feeling of each song faithfully. But we also want to be able to sing and strum guitar rhythm in different ways within the same song to give the song a sense of progression. A song is essentially a story, and a story should always be going somewhere. It should be building to something or falling from something. We can accomplish this with rhythm by varying complexity, dynamics, and feel. So let's take the two songs that we already learned together in our first two lessons and really categorize our sing and strum rhythm for each part. And at the end of the video, I'll share a pro tip, a near magic trick to make any song sound like the real thing, even though it's just you and your guitar. And anybody can do it. So stick around for that. So in the first lesson, when we started with American Pie, we chose it because the single strums in the first part of the song made it really easy for us to learn to sing and strum at the same time. A long, long time ago. And then in the chorus, we worked it up to double strums. Bye, bye, Miss American Pie. In the second lesson, when we learned For What It's Worth, we also used double strums in the chorus, but we actually then used the double strums as a platform to decorate on top of. The double strums are just quarter notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Probably the most natural decoration we could add is 16th notes after the second down strum. Stop, children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Something else we could do is throwing in bass notes after the second down strum. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. If you're holding the whole chord, it really doesn't matter which bass note you hit. The way that I actually play that song is I build it up to a point where I'm alternating between those two variations, and I'm even throwing in something where it's 3/8 notes and a pair of 16ths. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Another direction you could go is throwing in a mix of arpeggios and strums. We'll go back to the American Pie chorus to demonstrate this. I showed you in the first lesson a decorated way to play that chorus would be bass, bass, strum, bass, bass, strum, bass, bass, strum, bass, bass, strum. We could decorate it even further by making a strum a pair of 8th note strums. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. But American Pie is a long song, and we're going to want somewhere to go from there. We're going to want to make it pretty big. So how can I make the chorus sound bigger later in the song? Sometimes busier is bigger. That would be, as we said before, adding complexity. Why don't we try steady 8th strums? Bye, bye, Miss American Pie, drove my... I usually get a little faster when I get to that part of the song too. That can also make it sound bigger. Something interesting about when you get that busy is that instead of the notes being the accents, the rests can become the accents. Bye, bye, Miss American Pie, drove my... I just left a few of the strums out. I was just doing steady 8th strums, and the ones that I didn't hit are the ones that stuck out. When the notes are few, they stick out. But when there's notes everywhere, the rests are what stick out. The rests are actually notes too. Harder strums can be accents. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. So instead of the notes having a rhythm that expresses something, you just want to play some of them harder to give the rhythm at least some definition, even though you're very, very busy. Sometimes inverting the sounds can make them seem bigger. You're doing the same thing, you're just rearranging where everything is sitting. For instance, what if we did strum, bass, bass in that chorus instead of bass, bass, strum? There's nothing inherently bigger about bass notes on the backbeat and strums on the front beat. It's just the fact that we flip them. Sometimes all you need to make the song feel like it's going somewhere is for something to be different. Bye bye, Miss American Pie. Bye bye, Miss American Pie. And as for strumming patterns per se, over time, you won't really think of them as codified strumming patterns. You'll just think of them as assemblages of these little building blocks. But we did already learn the easiest strumming pattern in the world. Down, chop, up, chop. We could do a variation with bass notes instead of chops. Did you write the book of love and we could do a variation with no bass notes or chops. We could do steady eighth notes with harder strums for accents. Let's jump back to For What It's Worth because it's a little slower, and we'll do a version of that strum with some arpeggios. There's something happening here, but it ain't exactly clear. And don't forget that fourth verse of For What It's Worth gets real interesting because the strum does change even on the original recording. This is a good example of a change in feel. The first three verses give us this feeling of taking a stroll around and observing this slice of life or the world that the song is showing us. There's a nice strum on the front beat with a chop on the back beat, and then a few notes at the end just to keep it moving. The strumming pattern on the fourth verse doesn't really give us the feeling of observing anything at all. It really feels like something's happening to us. It makes us feel engulfed, overtaken. Paranoia strikes deep. A lot of this is actually accomplished with the different vocal melody in verse 4. What's so interesting is that the strum rhythm is still a down strum on the front beat with a chop on the back beat. But since the rest of the bar is busier and the vocal melody is different, the same elements have a completely different flavor. There's something happening here. Paranoia strikes deep. And I don't play it this way, but if you play the strum exactly like the original recording, the triplets at the end are going to give an even greater sense of disorientation. The reason I don't do that is because I can't actually sing the vocal melody evenly and do those triplets. It's just a little too much patting your head and rubbing your tummy for me. Also, there's no other rhythm parts when I'm playing by myself, so there's no drums or anything to kind of give a frame of reference underneath me, which makes the triplets less effective even if I did do them. I hope by now you're starting to get the idea that sounds, rhythm, melody, harmony, they tell a story by invoking emotions, even apart from any lyrics. Part of your craft as a musician is to learn an intuition for using these musical elements to invoke emotion with intentionality, especially if you're trying to mimic the overall effect of a song that's already well known to the listener. Which brings us to our bonus, the magic trick for arranging covers to play by yourself and making it sound like the real song. Try to cover all the prominent instrumental parts that you hear on the recording using your guitar and your voice if you have to. Any instrumental part that comes to your mind when you think about that song, what I'm talking about is hooks. Hooks are musical elements that are there to kind of grip the listener and make people connect with the song. They are the fingerprint of the song. The hooks of a song are what makes the song the song. The more of those hooks you can import into your arrangement, even if they're cheats, the more you're going to make the listener feel like that's actually the song. And I mean it when I say it can be a cheat. You don't have to get the exact sound of a drum to get the effect of a drum part. Even in the easiest strum that we've already learned, you're letting bass notes or full strums do what the bass drum would have been doing, and you're letting chops or something else do what the snare drum would have been doing on the backbeat. And everything else you do is kind of mimicking what the drummer would do to fill it in a little. Does it sound like drums? No. Not even close. Does it do the thing? Yes, it does. A great example of this is Jack Johnson's cover of a Beatles song called Rocky Raccoon. And in the original, there are these really cool Western saloon piano riffs in between each verse. Jack Johnson obviously isn't playing a piano, he's playing a guitar, and he's usually playing a guitar by himself. He sings that part. Do, 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 do. And it doesn't sound like a Western saloon piano. It doesn't have to be the exact same thing. It just has to resemble. The thing about the human brain is that it's super smart. Your brain hears a piece of something and it will fill in the rest of what it thinks it's hearing. So you don't have to nail every part of the song you're covering. You just want to include something that's as close as possible for as many of those parts as possible. The people who are familiar with the song are going to hear the whole band playing if you can just sprinkle in enough of each of the instrumental parts. The people who are not familiar with the song are going to find the music a lot more interesting because you went to the trouble. That is why I try to pull off a medley of the acoustic and electric guitar parts for the intro of For What It's Worth. Even though it's a cheat, even though it doesn't really sound the same, that little detail is what makes people feel like the song is the song for the people who hear me play it. Another example is how I do the chorus for Won't Back Down by Tom Petty. There's this really cool choral counter melody that really makes the chorus. I won't back down. Well, I can't sing that if I'm singing the melody, so what I do is I shift between A major and A ninth chords to mimic that part on my guitar. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out. Hey, The big secret to getting proficient in all this stuff is to be doing it. Learn a song. Work in as much of the character of that song into your arrangement as you possibly can. Don't try to make it perfect. Put together something that works and then perform it for people. Then learn another one. But since you're going to all the trouble to learn a bunch of songs and tunes for the enjoyment of others, you definitely want to put a little bit of thought into what music would be appreciated by your target audience. So let's talk about the top 5 genres of music that are easy to play, easy to learn, and are enjoyable listening for pretty much everybody. Click here. I won't back down.